Some of you will remember that almost from the film, The Man That Never Was, from where I hitched it. I'm going to talk about this. The synopsis I circulated talks about an event at Portsmouth that changed my life. It had been agreed in 1990-something that Britannia would be scrapped, which was a great sadness to us in the dockyard because we were responsible for her support and maintenance. So let me continue my story. In 1991, the Italian sail training ship Amerigo Vespucci visited Portsmouth. She's a sail training ship for the Italian Navy and also their presidential flagship. I was invited to lunch on board in the president's cabin with a canaletto fainting me on the bulkhead. I was so impressed by the way the Italians had merged training and presidential duties that I wrote to my commander-in-chief setting out ideas for a new Britannia, based on the idea of a Royal Sail training ship. His reply was not particularly encouraging. As the flag officer at Portsmouth, I had the privilege of being dined by the Royal Yacht Squadron at Cowes each year, and I sat next to the past Commodore Maldron Drummond. He was very supportive of my ideas. We had a meeting in his home and the project was born. We invited Colin Moody, an outstanding UK preeminent yacht designer and the Royal Designer for Industry, to join us, as well as Malcolm Vincent, whom you all know, who was then Managing Director of P&O's Ship Design and Project Management Company, Three Keys Marine Services. And he was arguably one of the most experienced UK shipbuilder project directors in the UK, with over 100 large merchant ships under his belt, including 2 vessels for the Sultan of Oman, so nobody really knew which one he was in, and the standby Royal Yacht Trinity House vessel, Patricia. To this inner core, we added a wide range of advisors from worlds of banking, national and international sail training, ship architects, youth training, legal services, business, World Wildlife Fund, and so on. We examined a range of options for a sailing ship replacement Britannia, and this is what she would have looked like. She would be a gracious, secure, elegant, flexible, floating palace, and to this we added the role of youth training. We discussed the project with a wide range of influential people, so that everyone who should know did know. These included the palace, of course, chairman of our major interests like ICI, Rolls-Royce, who were thinking about the engines, BP and BICC, banks, commercial, commerce, politicians, senior civil servants, Commonwealth ambassadors, and so on, for the Prince's Trust, and so on. The overall conclusions were that our ship would be an outstanding replacement for Britannia, and the palace agreed with us. In fact, we had a nice letter from the Duke of Edinburgh telling us so. Our business plan was validated by London Bank. Procurement costs were around about 80 million. We had one offer of 35 million as a gift to the Queen in her Jubilee year towards its capital cost, so long as the government approved the idea. And we saw no need for any financing from government. One of the nicest letters we received was from an elderly lady enclosing a £5 note, saying it was the best idea she had read about in the Times since the end of the First World War. She was a widow with no bank account. We had excellent support from the national press. We had a full 3-page coverage in the Times, and this was the picture they used on the front of their Saturday edition. And that was coupled with a leading article. I won't let you read it, but it was actually extremely supportive. A cartoonist, Clough, joined the fray with his cartoon and very kindly sent me the original. The Mail was an enthusiastic supporter with our ideas, as indeed was Country Life magazine. And my local paper in Portsmouth was also fully supportive. We had a model built, and I walked this round a number of lunch and dinner speaking engagements. With all this support, I launched the Royal Sail training ship formally on the government by letter to the Prime Minister John Major. At the same time, my local MPs, David Martin and David Willits, initiated an adjournment debate in the House of Commons, and Lord Strathcona did the same in the House of Lords. The government response that it would study our proposals along with others, and this is one of the other proposals, and he would make an announcement in due course. We then heard that private discussions between ministers and others indicated that our ideas were generally rejected. Some felt a sailing ship was looking backwards and wanted something much more modern. The Defence Select Committee considered the future of Britannia, and we submitted evidence. It was a very interesting period of discussion, and many prejudices were aired. I concluded the human mind was just like a parachute. It only works well when it's open. Time moved on with no decision. Delays in decision-making indicated there might not be any form of successor. Then Michael Portillo, as Secretary of State for Defence, found funding in the Defence Contingency Fund due to the strength of the pound-Deutschmark exchange rate, and announced that there would be a replacement of Britannia. And this took everyone by surprise, including the palace. Labour opposed the spending of government money. The Navy was happy as it had to find the running costs out of the Ministry of Defence vote. The new power boat had all the disadvantages of Britannia in finding a use when the Royals not on board. It was difficult to find anybody who was happy with the government announcement. As it seemed likely that Labour would win the next election, I spoke with likely future ministers. I also wrote to President Clinton, talking about partnerships and the possibility of a president's sail training ship. The US has only got one significant square rigger, and that's the US Coast Guard ship Eagle. I had a contact in the White House. When I complained I not even received an acknowledgement that it was quicker to get a reply back from his country than when we used to own it, he emailed me the wonderful expression, "Dear David, never put down to malevolence what sheer incompetence can achieve." Labour came to power. We wrote to the Prime Minister, Mandelson, and the Defence Secretary, Robertson. We called on the Lord Mayor of London, Richard Nichols, who was very supportive. In fact, he and I were at school together. But discreet inquiries with government by his office drew a distinctly chilly response. Others wrote to the Prime Minister on our behalf, and the Times returned to the issue with another leading article. Eventually, a carefully worded statement was issued by the government saying it was not prepared to support a successor, and the Ministry of Defence ship was cancelled. We started to feel like these little failures. So we needed to think again. We were asked by so many people to continue. And then a World Bank report highlighted the importance of education, pointing out that those countries that fail to educate risk stagnation. Later, David Blunkett, as Education Secretary, made a speech about raising educational aspirations in the 21st century. In it, he said, "The transition from secondary school to adult life is crucial. We need to provide a much more extensive program with structured and challenging activity. This will develop confidence, self-assured leadership skills, the team working of young men and women, and also support an educational experience." This was taken up by the Times on the 2nd of January 2000, highlighting the point that initiatives like the Royal Sail Training Ship are fantastic at firing enthusiasm for learning. So we put together our proposals and called it the Future Ship Project for the 21st Century, FSP 21. We launched it in the media again, and by letter to David Blunkett, who responded with enthusiasm, saying our project was precisely the kind of venture he was talking about. So what does sail training ship offer? It certainly offers a lot more than sail training. It provides an experience that's just not possible to duplicate elsewhere. A person learns a lot more about him or herself on board such a ship, being pushed to higher levels than what he or she may never have thought possible. Any time spent in the rigging can be classed as quality time for character building. In this, it well complements the work of Operation Drake and Operation Raleigh. This is why John Blashford Snell was one of our trustees. Young people with all forms of disability can take part, from the blind, as you see here, through to those in wheelchairs. So we developed our original design, but instead of 3 masts, she had 4 and is painted red instead of blue. She is the largest and most gracious education and adventure sailing ship in the world. At 515 feet long and a masthead height of 305 feet, and she does 18 knots under full sail. She has a displacement of over 4,000 tons and a crew of 66. She's green, which aligns her with the Rio 92 Convention, and this ship is in tune with public feeling. So let me talk a bit about the few of the design and engineering details. First, the design. The immediate first visual impression is an impressive and recognizable ship, outstanding among any other vessel afloat. This gives her some idea of her size, compared with the Victory and the Cutty Sark, or if you prefer it, the size of the Royal Albert Hall, and I was nearly arrested by the security guards as I paced it out. She demonstrates high standards of technology for a conventional power vessel, as well as for a sailing ship. Wherever possible within the constraints of competitive tendering to achieve quality and value for money, procurement is within the United Kingdom. Equipment is selected from UK manufacturers on their capability to give high integrity service with minimum through life costs. Ease of modular maintenance and replacement is an inherent feature. The computer definition of all aspects of the ship integrates with the building yard production facilities in order to minimize design costs for design, build, fit out, and maintenance. She is designed to be built in sections and then joined together at the shipyard. In order to provide as stiff a structure as is possible, we use a principle called Jeffreys tubes, which we called after the designer of the Starship Enterprise, because all the spaceship services were located in these tubes. The various compartments are designed within the envelope of a standard container, so any company which wishes to complete contender, these containers are then inserted into the structure and the sides are then bolted on. So taking the containers and Jeffreys tubes, and these are highlighted in red in this sketch, and they go down the center of the ship with the toilets and bathrooms down the center, unlike most ships where they're on the outboard sides. And the outboard side in containers are the classrooms, accommodation, and so on, which means any firm in the country can compete to build. We use UK-developed modern composites for all the decks and superstructure, fire protection, noise and corrosion control. To preserve a smart appearance, where the life rafts are concealed beneath these flaps, which open up to reveal the raft, and sustainable tank planking, which we use, which has a small gap between the planks to allow the water to drain away. The ship systems are designed with all the latest technology in all areas. Propulsion systems utilize the latest techniques in ship handling, stabilizing, and position control using multiple power units. The ship has balanced stern thrusters, and she is ice capable. In addition, exhaust gas cleanup is achieved by installation of selective catalytic converters in the second mainmasts. All wastes are either cleaned to clean water standards before discharge or retained on board for discharge ashore. All garbage is collected and all plastics minimized and segregated for shore disposal, while remaining food waste macerated for discharge in open waters. There is one particularly important aspect of the design, and that is the introduction of a hybrid drive system. A full range of solar technology reduces the need for diesel power generation. The recent developments in solar cells and solar thread means that the solar technology can be woven into the fabric of the sails, and a major sail manufacturer agreed to do this for us. And this represents a giant leap forward for sailing ships. An external assessment is that in UK latitudes, the very large area of canvas we carry, some 90,000 square feet, can generate enough solar power to charge a very large battery bank, which can deliver the power necessary to drive the ship at 10 knots, as well as covering her domestic power requirements. And all this presents an exciting prospect for British First. In future, the advancement of hydrogen technology is such that we could generate our own hydrogen, use it as a fuel for the diesels, thus meeting our ambition to achieve continuous zero emissions. So let me remind you what this great ship is for. First, it is to enable any young person to experience challenging and life-changing activities in a happy and stimulating environment away from land distractions. 200 trainees spend up to 3 months on board, depending on the courses they take up, living in twin berth cabins, and their education provides an appropriate base and counts towards a variety of degree courses. We have prepared a comprehensive outline business plan, and Edexcel agreed to work with us to develop a syllabus called Young Person's Guide to Life. The ship can also carry 20 passengers and 2 VIPs, hence the royal aspect. And there's 400 square meters of exhibition space. And of course, for the trainees, there are facilities for recreation, ranging from deck hockey on the helicopter deck through to sailing in a comprehensive range of sailboats carried in the hold, together with 2 36-seat coaches for excursions at home and overseas, together with 100 bicycles. There are at least 4 classrooms which can be set up flexibly to suit the age of the trainees and the subjects being studied, as well as 3 lecture theatres. Our second main purpose is to serve as a University of the Oceans, undertaking research into the environment and the health of the oceans. There is accommodation and laboratory space for up to 20 scientists who come from all over the world. Facilities range from wet and dry laboratories through to computer analysis suites and bottom-mounted sonar scanning systems. Winches at the stern and derricks on either side of the vessel facilitate the streaming of underwater collection and analysis equipment. And these facilities are available to those pursuing a course of postgraduate studies in the fields of the environment and oceanography up to master and doctorate level. Some of the facilities include such as analysis of plankton, with the trainees collecting and sorting it out in the wet laboratory, through to data collection, analysis and recording different seabirds and cetaceans, or analysing the records taken by leave and retrieve instruments. We undertook very satisfactory trials with trainees and scientists in a sail training ship during a short voyage. The ship will be a prestigious and unique international maritime academy. Our third main purpose is to demonstrate to the world that renewable energy sources can be used in the marine industry. Finally, we have a fantastic means of releasing results of research to the world through presents, exhibitions, conferences, and corporate events. The ship provides an outstanding floating conference and secure conference centre and exhibition facility, as well as providing exceptional accommodation for 2 VIPs and 20 passengers. There are the appropriate spaces for meetings, entertainment, and the ship is a secure haven for any diplomatic missions that might undertake. There is all the latest and best in conference technology. And without the trainees on board, we can create 400 square meters of exhibition space. This is how the Daily Mail saw the ship. The Daily Mail was a tremendous supporter of this project, and they created that centre page spread in one of their editions. And we're very grateful. At the same time, Farrow's solicitors did all the legal work pro bono for us and registered us with the Charity Aid Foundation in America. Very carefully prepared business plans were published through generous pro bono support from OSE, produced 250 copies of those for us, which we could send around. And I undertook a program of talks to a wide range of informed audiences, both in the UK and the USA. Support was considerable, especially those associated with renewable energy and materials and the facilities needed for research into the health of the oceans. But the vital component remains. The ship would carry our young people for one of the greatest experiences of their lives. They would come from all over the United Kingdom and Commonwealth. It would be sponsored by a whole variety of business, government and voluntary organisations. They would wear a distinctive uniform. They'd be known as Queen's Cadets. In fact, when I gave a talk to headmasters, one headmaster said he'd like to book the whole ship for his school for 3 months, and he guaranteed every single child will get at least 1 or 2 grades higher in their A-levels. These youngsters would act as the young ambassadors, the finest ambassadors this country has. They would also act as a stimulate to develop further form of youth training throughout the country and Commonwealth. Shortly before David Cameron became Prime Minister, I spoke with him. And when he was in office, I sent him our business plan. He responded with enthusiasm. He needn't read the whole letter, but just at the bottom he says, the handwritten note, "I think this is a splendid initiative and you have my full support." So that's the story of what I hope will be our great national flagship. I need not say that FSP 21 will not be her final name. And if I may use some words from Livy Purvis in the Times, this will be a ship for the nation. I only hope that we are nation enough for such a ship. So what happened? With all things in place, including an offer of $30 million from the Canadians towards the build of the ship, together with a donation of up to £5 million in £350,000 progress payments going through the procurement stage, together with a very experienced board of trustees, I felt it was time to hang up my boots. I would be 80 by the time the keel was laid, and leading this great national project was for a younger person. We found a replacement admiral with a very high profile to take over as chairman, but he was not available for 8 months, so a temporary chairman from the board was appointed. A chief executive was recruited, whose prime task was to raise money to support the executive team, made up from the chief executive, project director, finance director, development director, and naval architect. Project director was, of course, Malcolm. The team had moved into privileged offices in Somerset House with plenty of staff space and use of a boardroom, which had been originally used by the Royal Navy, where they appointed Nelson to HMS Victory. We even had the use of, very generously, of the Savoy Hotel silver card. So all was set fair for what was now called the UK flagship. The business plan was fully costed, with trainee income, exhibitions income, corporate visit and retail income, and so on, research, as you saw there, and the costs there, giving us a surplus of about 2.6 million a year, which would go towards a bursary fund, so that no trainee would be excluded for lack of funds. So what happened? After 25 years of work, I was sadly left my healthy and developing baby. Some 10 months later, I was saddened to be told, because of cash flow problems, the project was now bankrupt and was to be placed into receivership. It was a healthy bank balance and a positive cash flow when I left, which had been turned into an increasing deficit of over £300,000. As a result, our £5 million backer withdrew and the board decision was to close down. I live in hopes that there is someone out there who would like to resurrect the project. The key feasibility work is all done. It just needs the money and some new team members to pursue the programme. This is how an artist depicted the UK flagship sailing towards Portsmouth. I'm just hoping there might be someone somewhere can help and run this project and also find the money, which I'm absolutely certain is available, to get it going again. And just to reiterate what Livy Purvis said, I'm absolutely certain this is a ship for the nation. And I wish that we will be a nation for such a ship. And that concludes all I have to say.